Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines, better known as the one-handed mechanic. If I can do, you can too. Today we are working on a Craftsman 5.5 horsepower, 24-inch self-propelled snow thrower, and today I'm going to show you, in my opinion, how to install the transmission drive belt and also the auger belt. Now this is an older model, so I want to show you the model number first, and I'll put it up on the screen also, but I want to show you where you get the model number from. So the model number, and this is an oldie, it's a 536887250. All right, that's the model number here. You should be able to find it on your sticker. Now that being said, everybody asks me for part numbers. This snowblower was made by Murray, and Murray was actually bought out by Briggs & Stratton. So that's why this one belt is a Briggs belt. And the part number for this model is a 585416MA. I'll put the model again on the screen. And this is only for this particular model. You need to look up your parts online for your individual model to get the right belt. This is the transmission drive belt here. And again, it's made from Briggs. It's a 1733324SM. And these are OEM belts. And I don't trust, I've had no luck with aftermarket belts. They're too short, too long, too fat, or have it up like this because we do have to get underneath it. I know a lot of people out there say, oh, you can just put them on top of their barrel and you can lift them up straight up and down. I don't do that because one, there's gas in it, and two, there's oil in it. And if you tip this thing up straight up and down, you know, you'd have to take out the oil and gas to make it not have a mess. So what I do is I put 6 to 8 inch blocks underneath the rear wheels. I do have it on a bench that obviously you guys will be doing this on the ground, but I do want to be able to show you how to do this procedure. So we're going to get it up in the air right now, and we're going to take off this bottom cover, and right here it's just a 3/8 wrench. If you can get a socket in there. Now, one thing nice about this machine is you don't have to take out the bolts all the way. You can, but depending on where you're working, you don't want to lose the bolts, so just be careful. And there's two in the front, one's over here. On the other side. And then to pull down that plate, you can use a screwdriver and just pry down. There's 3 little tangs and it also has to slide off. It's got a groove in here, so it may be easier just to pull them off. I'm just going to leave them in, the screws, the bolts, and then it slides out. And what you mean by slides out is that there's a groove here that slides in the front bolt, and you can see the belt deteriorated and it's all over the bottom of this. We're going to clean this all out. Okay, so now you can see what's going on under here, and our belt right here, one of them, this is the auger belt, and we do need to, just in case we need to get under here, and it's also good to have it to, this disc is showing pretty rough. This is your, right here is your rubber drive disc, and this one definitely has seen better days, but it's still okay. I'm going to clean off that right there eventually, but today it's just about getting the belts on. Let's get around to the front cover. So I'm going to take the cover off. Again, you don't have to take these bolts all the way out. They'll just pop up other side. Just comes out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on the ground because we do have to split this to get the belts on. Okay, so I have it on the floor now, and the reason being, we're going to have to split this at least. I try not to take them all apart if I don't have to, especially if you guys are just, if you got to get your snow blown and you're trying to put a belt on. We're just going to try to tilt this forward, the barrel forward, but first we have to start taking it apart here. And I can tell you right here is a very important belt guide. This belt guide needs to be pretty close to this auger belt when it's in the relaxed position, so the belt doesn't keep going. If it's too tight, the belt will keep going, but it acts as a guide, and it kind of makes this belt not hit this 100%. This is your engine pulley, it's always running. So I'm going to loosen this up to get it out of the way. Just going to set it up there for now. This idler pulley right here, just make sure they're not seized. We're going to take a 9/16 wrench on that one, and it's a carriage bolt on this side, which means that you don't need a wrench on the other side. And if you loosen this up, it'll allow your pulley to slide back and forth. Some of them had a slider, some of them didn't. It's nice to be able to adjust it, but we're taking this off so we can get this belt off here. Now, at this point, we can try taking the belt off. Either you can take it off of here, and we want to try to get up around here. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but you can use the engine. If you pull the pull cord on the engine, you can actually walk the belt off. Like this. All right, so it just comes off. Now, our problem is right here. This is a belt brake. So when the handle is engaged, this is actually off, so the belt can move. And when you let go of your auger handle, it'll actually stop it pretty much as instantaneously it's supposed to, at least. Sometimes they don't. But we want to be able to get this belt out behind here, and right now we can't do it because we have to put this belt in this little teeny slot. So this barrel needs to move forward so we can get this off. Now we're going to come around to the chute side here. They make this super easy, and they don't do this for all machines, but if you pull this pin right here and pull out your handle, this is what turns your handle left and right. If you just take this out, this will allow us to split this half and this half from the motor. So you have to be able to take something off here, and they made it nice and easy. So all we have to do now is there's a bolt here, there's a bolt here, there's one all the way down at the bottom that actually will pivot, and then we have 3 on the other side. So let's go ahead and get them loose. Okay, 1/2-inch socket. Now you can see there's a slot right down there, and that slot will allow us to pivot this. We can take it out if needed. I'm just going to try to tilt it, and we'll see what happens there. Okay, so now we're on the right side. Be careful when you get to your last one here. If the lower bolts aren't loose, or if they're loose, this could fall forward on you. Just be careful, or the engine could fall back. Now I'm going to see, just by pushing back on the whole machine. Now I did not loosen these, so they may be a little bit tight. It's coming back, which is nice. And it's actually staying there because these are still pretty tight, but it allows us right now to be able to get this belt out from where we need it to be. It just slides up here. And you do have to turn the belt sideways. You got to turn your belt sideways just to get it past there, right there. And I could probably tip this even further, but I'm just going to try to leave it like this for now. All right, so there's the old belt. Now while we're here, we need to get this belt here. This is the drive belt because it has to come off the front pulley here. So we're going to go to the other side. This is spring loaded. This belt, the transmission drive belt's always on spring tension. If you do not have spring tension on there, there's probably something, you're probably missing a spring. Let's go to the side. Okay, so right here is where they have the spring that keeps the tension on it. And we're just going to take it right out of the slot here. Now they may not be like, they may different slots between different machines, and they may be actually configured differently, but for this particular model, it's just how it works right there. Now I'm going to leave the spring attached to the pulley back in here. I'm going to push that pulley all the way out. Okay, so I put this pulley all the way out so we can get the belt off here. Now the problem is this belt is still tight and it's on the pulley down below. So we're going to have to get this off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just push it off the back side of the transmission drive pulley while you're turning the pulley, and we're going to see if it'll walk off. And I think it has. Now this is where you're going to have to get underneath the machine. Okay, so if you guys can see this, all right, I pulled it, by turning the belt, I pulled it away. Now it's off. Problem is this rubber drive disc, we have to get it up between that drive disc. But let's go around to the top side. And now we have enough room to take the pulley off the big pulley and the engine pulley. And now we have to try to get this out. Okay, so once you have it to this point, okay, now we have to take out this rod needs to be moved so we can move this pulley away from the drive underneath. So there's a little C-clip right here that they just pop off the groove with a screwdriver. And then you should be able to push this in like so. Now that'll allow this to come back out far enough to be able to get the belt out, like so. And then we want to do reverse order on the way back in. So you just reverse your order, slide that down there, make sure you're past the rubber drive disc, and if you have to, go underneath. All right, so it's allowing it to go through, and then I'm just going to leave it hang right there, but I'm past the drive disc. Let's go back up to the top. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put the bar back through its hole, which you're probably not going to be able to see very well, but it has a bracket that it has to go through. All right, so make sure, let me show you guys here, make sure the plate is behind this metal part right there before you put this on. It won't align properly if this is on the other side. I came across that just now. So we're going to go ahead and, whoops, it just went back to the other spot. You got to line this up in the bracket, push your bracket down below that. It's a piece of metal sticking out. It's just a guide. So it has to be behind that guide and up into the hole like that. Gonna put your C-clip on. And a pair of pliers is the right way to do it. I'm gonna snap it on a screwdriver like so. Now we have to pull this up, get it over the engine pulley before you put it on down below. You want to make sure that your belt is in front. A flat part of the belt goes on the flat part of the Auger pulley, so remember that. Okay, so then that's like that. Now I'm going to leave it off this engine pulley. I'm going to go back under and put it on our bottom transmission pulley. Just start at one side and roll it around. That was pretty easy. Okay, so now we're on. And then we have to find our spring to our idler, which is right here. We're going to fish it through to the other side. And this is where I get a little hook. Just going to use the little hook. Make sure it's on your idler. Oops. Let's go ahead and put the belt on the engine pulley now. And again, if you have problems getting that on, you can always use the engine pull cord. You have to figure out which way the belt's going to go on. With the same direction the engine will when you pull the pull cord, and you can walk it on, like so. Make sure it's on your flat idler there. I'm going to go ahead and pull the spring into the first slot where it was. And that's pretty much it for your transmission drive belt, just like that. Okay, now we got to get the auger belt on. Just going to go ahead and turn it sideways. Actually, you didn't need to turn it sideways, just far enough out. Very stiff, brand new belt, so you have to try to get it on the bottom of the auger pulley. Line it up below. All right, so now we're on. Now what we need to do is we need to hold the auger. This auger has to be in the on position. So up at your handlebar up here, I'm going to go ahead and clamp it down. So what that does is that brings out, it takes the brake off so we can get it back to where the pulley is. So we're going to go ahead and push the barrel back into position. And then lower the machine. Now we just need to line up the bolts. Just have to get one started for now. And I would not tighten any of these up until you get them all started. And then you can tighten them up. Now I did not loosen these bottom ones, but I'm going to go ahead and give them a snug when we get everybody together. Now at this point, since the belt brake is in the open position, now that we have the pulleys all the way in the depressed position, which is the on position, we can't put the belt on correctly, so now we have to let go of our handle, disengage it, which allows it to press against the belt, which is now it's in the correct position for being off. Now we can go ahead and put this belt on. And again, you have to walk. Sometimes it's easier just to walk the belt on with the pull cord of the engine, and it'll walk on like that. And then you just have to push it in the front of this flat idler pulley like so. Now this was pushed pretty far up when we got it, and there's a lot of adjustment here. Now being that it's a brand new belt, I'm only going to push it a little bit up and lock that in. And if we need to, we can adjust it later on. That's the 9/16 wrench. Now that's tight. This is on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adjust this with the auger tension in the full tension mode, which would be the handle down. And I'm going to lock it in. And then I'm going to come over here, and if you see, you don't want this guide running against the belt when it's actually in motion, but you want it close, because when you disengage the belt, it's actually going to help. This guide will help push the belt up away from this pulley, so it shouldn't move the augers. So I'm going to have a little space gap that's probably about an 1/8 inch right there, and we're going to go ahead and tighten it up right there. Now it's really hard for me to do what I normally do, is I'll use a wrench or a screwdriver, and I'll hold that in position while I'm tightening up the bolt to the engine, so it stays where I want it to stay. And if I have to, I can manipulate it a little bit with the wrench or the screwdriver, and then just tighten it tight, like so. Double check that it's not rubbing right here. Then you can go ahead and release the handle for your auger belt. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to tighten those up right now. I'm going to tighten the bottom, even though it was a little bit loose. At this point, this is the time where we want to run the machine just to make sure your auger is not spinning when the engine is just running and not engaged. Check gas. Make sure you have oil. This guy's good. Choke on, get it fired up. I'm gonna move this out a little bit here. As you can see, the transmission drive belt is moving, but the auger belt is not. Now when we hit the auger handle up here, it's now operating as it should. But basically that's what we were trying to make sure, that this was adjusted properly, because when you let go of the handle for the auger belt, the engine will always run, but your auger should not. So keep that in mind. And we had good tension when we engaged this. Okay, so on this cable right here, there is an adjustment, and I'll show you what it is. I'm gonna actually unadjust this one. This has your auger belt tension right here. And when you come down to look at the belt tension, when you have the handle all the way down and the belt's tight, over here is the spring tension. Okay, now the spring tension, you can see how far that spring actually stays sprung out. And this bar right here stops pretty much when it stops moving, which is right around there. Now see how far this handle is. This handle is, it should be down when this bar is about tight, all right? So this has so much more spring tension on it than it needs. I'm actually going to take this off and actually unadjust it a little bit. And I know there's a lot of slack in it, but that's fine. You got to be able to take them off up here. So there's an L bracket on here. And I'm not sure if we can get these cables anymore, but because it's such an old machine. But they do break right here. But you have to have enough tension, have enough slack to be able to turn these 90. And if they're real worn, replace the cables. If you can still get them, you have to look them up. So then you come down, then once you have it off there up top of the handle, you can take it off down here at the hook, and then you slide this off and then push that through, and you see how big that adjustment is. The adjustment on this is really, really large, huge adjustment you can make. And this one here, it's just up a little, it's just too tight. So the more you screw it up into the spring, okay, like that, the more tension it is. I'm just gonna back this off a little bit, not much, but just so you guys know, that's how you adjust this. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's a 7/16 wrench, and a speed wrench will work great, but you have to probably grip this with a pair of vice grips, or put it in a vise, and then to be able to loosen that, because you have to hold this. So, and you can use a very small wrench on here too, probably like a 1/4-inch wrench. But I either put this in a vise, or I use a pair of vice grips when I'm loosening these up. So I just wanted to show you that, and then when you're done adjustment, go ahead and put that down. Put your put your spring back into your bracket there, and then you can just put this cover down on it. Come up to your handle. And there has to be enough slack so you can get that to go in there. And sometimes you might even have to like lift up this bracket, like to just even push it up even more. And I'm pulling up with my foot. Now look how easy it goes in now, like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen it up, but that's pretty much how you adjust the auger cable. This one is just really, really tight. And then down here, like I said before, you can slide this bracket, you can slide this in and out to make the belt looser, tighter too. So keep that in mind. This is the one I normally tend to work with. And then you just want to make sure when you let go of the handle that the auger is not moving. Okay, so that pretty much sums it up for how to install the drive belt and the auger belt for this snowblower and this particular model snowblower. I'll put that up on the screen again. I'm going to go ahead and button up the cover and underneath. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share my channel with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Okay, so the tools that I use for the project with the belts, these are the 2 belts here, the old ones. This is the 1 belt number. I'll put in the picture. This is the auger belt number for this particular model, and again, I'll put that up in the screen so you guys have that. I use my 1/4-inch electric ratchet always, slot head screwdriver, a 7/16 open end, 3/8 open end. Now these are speed wrenches too. This is a nice feature that they actually ratchet and you can get them into small places. 1/2-inch wrench, 9/16 wrench. We have a 1/2-inch deep socket if needed, 9/16 socket. An extension, my clip removal tool that I always use, and like a U-shape. This is what we use to pull the spring down at the drive belt. So that should be pretty much it. I think I covered everything on that one.